Hey friends, Brendan here, and I am thrilled to bring you what I hope is the first of many gear review videos. This video is brought to you by Warm Audio, and they were kind enough to send me their WA-2MPX dual-channel tube preamp. And after several opportunities to use this preamp in recording sessions for my own projects, I am absolutely blown away with the way that it sounds. So special thanks to Warm Audio for sending this preamp over, because it's a total game changer for me. The WA-2MPX, which is the single-channel model of this preamp, is an authentic reproduction of the Ampex 351 tape machine preamp, and that was made popular in the 1950s and 60s by artists like Les Paul, Nat King Cole, Roy Orbison, Elvis Presley, and many, many more. The WA-2MPX is the dual-channel model of this preamp, and that's the unit that we're going to look at today in this video. But before we get into how the preamp actually sounds, let's talk about some of the features it has. First, we have a knob to switch between the mic, line, and instrument inputs. Each preamp also has a preamp gain knob and an output level knob. For the switches, we have our phantom power. We have the high gain switch, which engages the third tube inside of each preamp to give you that extra 20 dB of gain. The polarity switch is next, and that is most useful if you're using two open microphones at a time in each of these channels. The polarity switch will allow you to eliminate any phase issues that you might have. The tone switch is described in the manual as an impedance switch, and we're going to listen to what that sounds like here in just a minute. But when it's switched off, you'll hear that the signal inside of each preamp just sounds pretty normal. Yes, very warm and awesome coming through this preamp. But when you engage the tone switch, it's going to bring the signal more to the front and is going to make it feel a little punchier and a little bit more aggressive and in your face, which is a great feature to have. So we're going to listen to that here in a second. Next, we have the high pass filter, which is an 80 hertz low cut. So that's cool. Get rid of some of those bass frequencies that we don't want on the signal. There's also a 2 kilohertz low pass filter switch, which is great for shaving off some of those higher frequencies that we might not want if we're trying to make our signal more warm. Lastly, we have the tape saturation switch, which is my personal favorite part of this preamp. And what this does is engages a circuit of discrete analog components to the channel, and that brings with it a lot of harmonic distortion and natural compression, which is awesome. It makes the sound super aggressive and in your face, and just gives it that real old school tape style rock and roll sound, which I love. I produce music of all different kinds, but I'm mainly an electronic music producer. So today, for this video, I'm going to be using my Behringer Poly D analog synth as my signal source. But all of the concepts that we're going to cover in this video could easily be applied to anything that uses a mic, line, or instrument input. Okay, so I'm all set up here with my Poly D, and I'm running line outputs from the back of the Poly D into the back of the WA-2MPX. I could have just used the instrument inputs on the front with regular TS instrument cables, but the Poly D is line level, so I'm running TRS cables into the back line inputs on the back of this. First, we're going to start with just a clean sequence running from the Poly D, no effects or anything like that, and I'm actually only using one oscillator to start with, so it's a pretty simple sound. But I'm going to run the sequence just so we can hear what it sounds like through the WA-2MPX. Here we go. Let's listen to it. Yeah. And already you can tell the tubes inside of this unit are just incredibly warm and clean. Even just running one oscillator from the Poly D coming into the WA-2MPX, you can hear just how glorious and warm this unit's preamps sound. Yeah, just clean, it sounds amazing. Let's listen to it again. That is glorious. Now I'm gonna let it play, and I'm gonna open up the filter just a little bit, get some more of those frequencies going. Now the signal is a little bit thicker, and the preamps are still easily handling the signal coming in, even if I crank it. It really sounds amazing. Let's take a listen to the tone switch and see what that does to our signal. So again, this is an impedance switch, and we'll change the input impedance on the preamp itself, and it will give your signal a more present, thicker, aggressive tone. But it won't be as noticeable as something like the tape saturation, which we'll listen to in a second. So let's hear what the signal sounds like without tone first, and then I'll switch it on. So you can hear that there's definitely a difference when I turn the switch on. It's a subtle difference, but it does make your signal more present and just adds a little extra color to your signal, which is a really, really cool feature. The user manual has a lot more specifications surrounding what the tone switch actually does, but it also reminds us to be sure to use our ears when we're using the tone switch and not to focus too much on what it's actually doing. It's more just an extra feature for color. Now let's listen to what the tape saturation does to our signal. This will add a dedicated circuit of discrete analog components to the preamp that delivers the tape saturation and brings with it harmonic distortion and natural compression, which makes it sound absolutely amazing. It'll make the sound a lot grittier and in your face and much more aggressive. Let's listen to what that sounds like. Now I'm going to add a couple more oscillators to my signal just to thicken it up a bit. And I'm also going to back down the output level just a tad. And while the preamp gain is cranked, you're going to hear immediately that the signal gives us that tape saturation sound, and you'll hear the harmonic distortion coming through very nicely. So let's listen to that. That sounds so sick. I mean, it just immediately makes the signal so much more aggressive and awesome, and I love that. Now, instead of cranking the preamp gain this time, I'm actually just going to turn on the high gain switch, which again will engage the third tube in each preamp and give us that extra 20 dB of signal. So I'm going to leave the preamp gain where it is and the output level where it is, and just see what the signal sounds like when the high gain switch is engaged with that third tube. Yeah, so it definitely sounds a bit different, and we'll take a listen to some other examples using the tape saturation in just a second. Right now, I am, like I said, I'm running the left-right output on the Poly D into the inputs, the line inputs on the back of this unit. And essentially what I'm doing is I'm treating this sort of like a stereo unit where channel 1 is my left and channel 2 is my right. So it's a stereo channel in my DAW. But I don't have to do that. I could just as easily split each preamp into its own channel, process each side differently, and have them on 2 separate tracks. And this is only coming out of channel 1. But now on channel 2, which is the right output on the Poly D, I'm going to process this side and I'm going to give it all kinds of effects. I'm just going to turn on the tape saturation and the tone, and I'm going to crank it, but I'm going to turn my output level down a bit just so it doesn't blow my eardrums out. Okay, so yeah, pretty gritty signal. I'm going to crank that output gain. So now what I could do is I'm going to turn my output gain on channel 2 all the way down, but I'm going to slowly feed in the output level of channel 2, and I'm going to use it as sort of like a parallel processing. So let's hear what that sounds like. Okay, so we're not hearing channel 2 really at all. I'm going to turn that up. Just to where I like it. Yeah, that sounds amazing. And having the ability with a stereo instrument to process each side as a mono signal and process them differently in parallel, that's a really cool way you could use this with keyboards or drum machines even if you want. This preamp has really been bringing my projects to the next level. And with all of the great features that it has, how amazing it sounds, and honestly, even just the way that it looks, I mean, sidebar, it's an absolutely beautiful preamp that looks very much like the Ampex 351 preamp that I mentioned earlier. And so with all of that, I think I would have to give this preamp 5 gold stars or 10 out of 10 or however you want to rate it. It doesn't really matter. I think it's an absolutely amazing preamp. And if you are in the market for a new preamp for your studio that sounds incredible and has a lot of great features and versatility, I think you should definitely consider the Warm Audio WA-2MPX. If you want to learn more about the WA-2MPX, you can head over to warmaudio.com and you'll find everything that you need to know on their website. Also, be sure to check out the Warm Audio YouTube channel so you can check out some of their other videos as well. They have a ton of great products, and usually they have several videos for each product. I'm going to be releasing a lot more content like this soon, so if you want to see more stuff like this in the future, hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.